Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an interview video today. We're going to be going down to Valencia, which was recently named the best city in the world for foreign residents. And we're going to be having an interview with Alex, another interview with Alex, because we spoke to Alex about 18 months ago. And we're going to go back down and see how Alex and his family are getting on in that part of the world. Today's video is sponsored by Fluent Forever, and I'll tell you a little bit more about Fluent Forever during the video. So let's go to the interview. So Alex, how are things? Haven't seen you for a while. How's life down there in Valencia treating you?
Yeah, I'm okay, and I haven't seen you in a while. It's last time we spoke, you were just another guy, but now you've turned into a YouTube sensation. So
well, I don't know whether I'd call myself a YouTube sensation just yet. But yeah, I've been pushing the YouTube videos fairly hard over the last year or so. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's great. You've done an amazing job, and so and I think you've been keeping people up to date, and that's certainly something that's probably quite difficult to get a good source of, some decent news nowadays.
Well, it's been a tough year.
Yeah. So make no mistake. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, in Valencia, third biggest city, things are fine. You can definitely notice that there are less tourists, less people about, less people mingling and meeting up, obviously, and I suppose that has good and bad kind of ramifications, right? Good because it means that, I suppose in the technical sense, no one is being irresponsible or nobody's, getting locked up by the police or anything like that. But at the same time, it does change social dynamics. It does mean that there's a feeling of disconnection amongst people. I suppose some are, better equipped to deal with it than others. But that's been a bit difficult, I have to say. The sense that it just feels a little bit more empty and kind of, where's everyone around? Even if they're next door. That's the crazy part.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're talking about cities, Valencia in particular, that are, they're tourist meccas really here in Spain, aren't they? I mean, I'm not sure of the exact amount of tourists that would visit a city like Valencia every year, but Barcelona, Valencia, Malaga, Madrid, I mean, we're talking millions of people normally, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And even, I mean, this is my third December here, and the first, two occasions in previous years, even in December, the streets are bustling, and it's not Spanish talk you hear in the background. It's people probably come from Germany, from all over the UK, from France, even further afield. So it's always busy. It's all the shops are, the cash registers are chiming in, and stuff is going on. Restaurants are full, but now I must say it's probably it feels like 80% less, if not more. So it is a big difference. Yeah, it's huge. Yeah, it's crushing.
Yeah, it is. It's huge. But once we get this pandemic out of the way, I'm sure that things will get back to normal. We both know that Valencia has been named the best city in the world for foreign residents, so I'm sure that that's going to bring more people in.
Yeah, and if anything, if there is a next stage back to some degree of normalcy, then that will certainly help to reverse some of the damage, I suppose, in a place like Valencia, because obviously it relies on a degree of tourism and all the other related kind of areas that tourism provides. But let's see. I mean, it's probably not like other smaller cities that have less of a, maybe they're a little bit less well established, or perhaps it's still the third biggest city. We're not talking about a tiny little pueblo outside of somewhere in the back country, so I think that things are still okay here, definitely. People still take their kids to school, people still open restaurants, there's still people out in the pavements having a caña, the life still goes on, definitely, which is great. People can adapt amazingly, but I do think that there are a lot of good reasons why it was chosen as that, the number one city for expats. Of course, or pandemic or not, it's a beautiful city. It's got a great size as well. It's nothing like Barcelona or Madrid where it just seems to go on forever. Those massive conurbations. This is a kind of a very walkable, manageable size. You can easily get around in less than half a day, walking up and down. It's great for bikes. It's great for families. It's safe. It's quite flat, so it's not difficult to kind of get around if you don't have a car or anything like that. It's no problem. All you need is a bike or some good walking shoes. And of course, cost of living is good. Certainly compared with the rest of Europe. Where we've been here we've just signed our lease again for a third year going in, and we've got a great relationship with the landlord. He's never even bothered to kind of talk about putting up the price for rent or anything like that. So
that's good. That's
good.
It's
all been good, all above board, all good. So those are some of the reasons. I'm sure there'll be some more, but it's you can get a lot of bang for your buck, I think, being in Valencia for sure.
So we'll just get a bit of your background. You came to Spain from South Africa. This is for people that didn't see the first video that we did. You came to Spain from South Africa. You are half Spanish origin. Your mother's Spanish, right?
That's right.
Grandmother, if I remember correctly, was born in Spanish Morocco, which is a little bit controversial at the moment.
I know.
And you decided to bring the family, partner, one child at the time, another one now. So you've got a little Spanish baby there as well.
Yep.
And so how's that? That time since we last spoke, or that time since you've been in Spain, how's the adaptation process coming along?
Good, mostly. To start off with the kids, my son, who turns 5 in 2 months' time, he almost doesn't remember South Africa much at all, except for maybe some people or some family members that he's always known. But it's been over 2 years for him, and when you're that young, you don't really remember much before then. So he's pretty much acclimatized beautifully. He's definitely picked up the language very quickly. He's got Spanish friends. He's even got a little cute Valencian accent. So he's great. He's in it. And when I ask him, do you ever want to live anywhere else? He's like, no, Valencia. He's just in it. He's happy. And our daughter Luna, she's 1, so she was born here. She was born last November. I suppose there's not much to say there yet, but her existence is in Spain. So that adaptation is kind of follows the fact that we've had one of our children here, and that we're here for now. And I suppose some of the other aspects of when adults need to acclimatize, it's always a little bit more of a complicated, longer process, because you've got to unlearn certain things, certain habits. You've got to get used to certain cultural things, the way that people work. I won't flog a dead horse about Spanish administration and so on. That that's always possibly a topic for another podcast. But some things you acclimatize to maybe quite easily. You sort of surprise yourself. You're like, oh wow, it's actually quite easy to do that, to open up a bank account or to find a school or to find neighbors very friendly. That's great, But then other things maybe have been a little harder. So maybe one thing would be possibly maybe breaking into a core group of Spanish friends. So it's really easy to find local sort of expats like us. They're all around, often they also want to make friends. They've got kids, great, easy fit, and that's what's held us through. We've got some great friends. Unfortunately, some of them have left after the lockdown for their own reasons. But sometimes it's a little harder. Part of it is the language, to break into that kind of Spanish group. A part of it is also routine, I've found. And I'm talking about the parental class, if you will, because we're parents there's lots of parks, lots of kids. And I find that a lot of the time, a lot of Spanish people have a very sort of tight schedule. When they've got kids, they've got jobs, they've got stuff to do, drop off the daughter at ballet class, then there's piano lessons, then there's which is great, they're probably going to have cool, smart kids, but it seems quite tiring to do that. I've got young kids, maybe that'll change as I get older, but so that isn't always easy to break into.
I think that is a characteristic, and especially when you come into a new city and you don't have those language skills, of course. Obviously, for a Spanish person, it would be a lot easier to break into those groups, or at least I think it would. I don't know, but you've got to sort of overcome those two barriers. Firstly, getting to know new people, and then the language barrier as well. On that topic, how are the language skills?
Mine are okay. Once again, I think I mentioned that last time when we spoke, is that I don't have a Spanish job, so or a great, large group of Spanish friends. So if anything, it's probably not where it should be. And I'm always overcritical about how I speak. But I mean, I can get by at a consum or a police station or a Mercadona or something. That's fine. That's okay. And then some basic conversation around a couple beers. That's okay. My partner's somewhat less. But it's definitely enough, and I think a lot of the time I've actually cracked the code when it comes to being able to just get enough to be able to communicate, and the conversation continues without someone kind of taking pity on me and just switching to English if they can.
Okay. Which does happen.
Which happens, yeah. Unfortunately, a bit too much in my case. But I've found that if you can nail some degree of the accent, then that normally kind of sort of sometimes gives them the impression that you are kind of understanding, and maybe there is an ability of Spanish that's enough for this to continue, and so I've kind of gotten around the accent in a way, and that helps, which is great, because if they continue, then I continue learning, and the only way to practice it is to just practice.
That's it.
So
that's it.
You've got to jump in.
Now, I'll just interrupt the video there to talk about the sponsor of today's video, Fluent Forever. Fluent Forever is a science-based language learning application that focuses on teaching a language so that it will stick with you for the long term. Now, as you know by now, I always say that if you're planning to move to a country like Spain, you need to know the language before you get here. And if you're already living in Spain and want to improve your Spanish language skills, Fluent Forever is an app that can help you do just that. What makes Fluent Forever special is customizable decks, so you can customize your language experience to suit your needs. It doesn't matter whether you are at beginner level, intermediate level, or advanced level, Fluent Forever can help you improve your language skills. And the application is also fantastic when it comes to learning vocabulary, and it's going to help you learn the key words that you need to have a real conversation with real people here in Spain.
El gobierno ha iniciado la construcción del nuevo tren ligero.
You can download the app for both Apple and Android phones. You would normally get a 14-day free trial to check out the app, but if you click my special link below instead, you'll get a 60-day free trial, which is 4 times longer than the normal free trial. So if you want to be able to hit the ground running here in Spain by having good language skills before you get here, or if you're living in Spain and want to improve your language skills, I seriously recommend that you download Fluent Forever and check it out for yourself. And don't forget to click that link below so that you get that 60-day free trial. Now back to the video. Now on a work front, obviously this year's a bit difficult, but you were working outside of Spain a lot, weren't you? You still had contacts in South Africa. You had some business going on in London, other places around the world. Obviously now everything's probably remote. I imagine that you're not back on planes yet, but how difficult has that been, or has it been an easy process to pick up those work contacts from there? Prior to the pandemic, able to fly out Valencia airport quite good, able to get around the world?
So yeah, before COVID, it was easy to do that, and it was, I was going to London fairly regularly, but luckily in the nature of what I do, I don't always need to be on site somewhere or in an office or in front of a client, because I've got a video production business. My partner's in Cape Town in South Africa, and he manages the production side of things while I do more of the scripting and the kind of the client relationship stuff. And we've done quite a few projects in Spain, in Valencia so far, which has been great, pre-COVID and also post-COVID, strangely enough. And then I've got another kind of smaller consultancy based in the UK where I do some marketing and sales consulting. And then I'm also getting into some video-based courses as well, which is going to kick off next year. So luckily, all of those things are things that I can kind of take with me almost anywhere I can go. And what's great about COVID, that's a sentence you don't hear often, is that it's kind of pushed things to the point where a lot of ways of working or ways of dealing with people, amongst some other things, has has now been accepted in a way that perhaps before it was a lot harder to do that. You know, remote working, for example, is just it's just happened everywhere now. It's no longer like maybe once a week you can work from home. No, that's normalized right now, and that's great because it pushes everything forward, and it means that people can, sure, it comes with some other drawbacks and you've got to manage those, but it also means that people can now be a little bit more independent with what they need to get done. You know, we've all got kids, we've all had Zoom calls with, you know, babies running around and so on. So that's okay. That's just accepted now. So luckily on the work front, it's been okay. It's been good. Luckily, yeah. So I'm very fortunate there.
Now, work aside, what have been some of the highs and lows of the 3 years now? You said this is going to be your
It's
third
just
Christmas,
over 2 years.
Oh, just over two. Yeah. Okay. So what have been some of the highs and lows of those last 2 years?
Specifically in Valencia, or just being in Spain?
In Spain in general, and then we can localize it to Valencia if you want.
Well, I mean, it's coming from a non-EU country, and kind of, I don't want to say leveling up, but going to Europe and being in the European neighborhood, and everything that's come from that, I'd definitely say it's changed life for the better, for sure, overall, absolutely. Yeah. In terms of work opportunities, things have definitely grown there. I've met a lot of really interesting, like-minded people, Spanish and non-Spanish. So our friend group has, our friendship and our kind of, community group, both work and, friendship has blossomed in many ways, met, really interesting people from different backgrounds, and that's helped to I think navigate some of the more difficult things as well. Just knowing that good people are around and that you can tap into, you can just pick up the phone, have a conversation, have a WhatsApp conversation at any time. That's been good. I think also just being closer to Europe, being able to fly for 2 hours, you can go into London, you can go to Paris, wherever. It's super, I'm used to I'm used to long distances on flights. You've got to travel 8, 9, 10 hours to Doha or Qatar before you get anywhere. So that's great, the travel aspect. So that's definitely been some of the highlights. And we've had some beautiful times. We've had some great road trips, have gone up and down the Costa Blanca and
so you've done a fair bit of travel around the country?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. I mean, probably a bit, but I would have liked to do a bit more before COVID. But we have, gone down to Alicante, a little bit further south, been onto the beaches. I've been to Mallorca last year as well, which was great. Just sort of, escaping the kind of the party scene, because as soon as you drive out and see some of the other parts of the island, I'm not sure if you've been to.
No, I haven't been there.
Oh, okay, yeah. Especially the north, and just some of the beaches and the blue waters, and it's just incredible. So some of the natural beauty has been great to see, and that's something that my partner and I really almost want to get a bit more of. A little bit more nature, a little bit more kind of outdoors. We were used to that in South Africa, and being in a city, it's obviously a very different existence. But it's there, it's on the doorstep, so that variety has been good to get into. On the downside, was that part of your question? On the downside?
Yeah, I think I said highs and lows.
Okay, maybe, highs and lows, yeah. Some of the lows has been, I think for me, I would have liked to, like I said, tap into a little bit more like a local Spanish community a little bit more. I mean, maybe that will still happen, but perhaps after 2 years, I thought maybe that would have had a bit more headway. I think personally for me, I've also had a little bit of a kind of I wouldn't say a legal situation, but a situation with my citizenship and trying to reclaim that back. And that has sort of soured my experience a little bit with administration, with certain things you can't get done, because that is just a stumbling block that takes a long time to,
So we'll just talk about that. So I think the last time we spoke, maybe April last year, I can't remember exactly when it was, you were in this process. As I said before, you come from a Spanish heritage, mother Spanish, grandmother Spanish. You've got entitlement to be a Spanish citizen.
I was, I have,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but you're having trouble getting all of this sorted out.
Yeah, so very quickly, there's a law that says that if you are the child of a Spanish immigrant born in another country, which I was born in South Africa, you have a 3-year period after you turn 18 to sort of, make the determination to keep your citizenship. And once you turn 21, if you don't do that, then that gets revoked, it gets taken away for some reason. And so I didn't know that. And it seemed as well at the time that the consulate in Cape Town that I'd been dealing with, who'd been issuing me passports since I was 10, didn't know that either.
Spanish passports?
Yeah, Spanish passport. I've had a Spanish passport since I was 10, yeah. So they didn't know that either. And they kept issuing me a new passport even after that period had elapsed. And then when I came here, when we'd come here, with my son had a passport. We came here with a visa for Tiffany, my partner, who was linked to my citizenship. Obviously, we opened up a bank account, we got a flat, we got a lease, sent him to school. Everything was sorted. And then when I was about to go and get my Spanish ID number, my DNE, they said to me, "Oh, hang on, if we just check your records in the Registro Civil Central in Madrid, then actually you don't exist. You're a non-person." How Orwellian. Yeah. So, and that sort of started a chain reaction. This was about 2 years ago now, where I now had to go over this process called recuperación. I have to go and get it back.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's what I'm busy doing. I've fulfilled all the conditions, but it's just a waiting game. Yeah.
But it's possible. It's possible. Right?
Yeah, it's virtually done. It's just now that it's sort of in the cogs of the machine, and yeah.
Which can be frustrating, as we mentioned the previous time we spoke. Yeah, that's
to say the least.
Once you get into the bureaucratic system, let's say.
Yeah.
Coming from outside the EU, which also makes it a bit complicated as well, which is something that you mentioned. That's one thing that's on the table at the moment for a lot of British people. Obviously, they're going through this Brexit process and everything now. And just how easy it is from a European Union point of view to move around all of the EU countries, residency, working, everything. It's just the whole different level when you're coming from outside that union.
Absolutely, like I said, I've gotten used to the idea of being part of that union since I was 10. Whenever I traveled, flash the passport, no problem. And my partner, she always says to me, well, you don't know what it's like not having that. Because even to the point where you got different queues at the airport, and you sometimes in certain countries even you're just treated completely differently, which is absurd, obviously. So it's there's an unfairness about it, for sure, especially if you're on the other side of the fence. I suppose people in from the UK who choose to live here. I mean, I think there's probably almost about 1 million Brits that live in Spain or something like that. I mean, there's a hell of a lot.
I don't think they've ever been able to put an exact figure. I think it sort of ranges between 800,000 to 1 million, and then there's even more when you look at the people that have second homes in Spain as well.
Exactly.
That takes the figure to a whole nother level.
Yeah. So I don't know. I've got some British friends, and they're also sort of, even 2 years ago when they were talking about the same thing, when Brexit seemed like it was at a similar type of deadlock. There's still no clarity on whatever's going on there.
No,
and I don't expect there to be once next year rolls around too. So.
Well, I don't think. I mean, obviously, people must have known what was on the table when they were all going through this, when that referendum was held. But I don't think people understood the complexities of all of the trade deals, and the freedom of movement is one thing, but we're talking, enormous problems to get trade deals done, and even things like that. And we'll start to finish up. But long-term plans. How long do you see yourself in Valencia for, Alex? If that's even on the table at the moment, have you got any idea?
It's really hard to kind of give a concrete answer. I mean, the short, sort of easiest answer is that for now we're here because we're having to wait out for this situation that we have to resolve itself. So, until we have all the paperwork sorted. I think that Valencia itself will always be a base for us in some way. I suspect that we will probably move on for at least a year or two to somewhere else. We have designs of our own on Southeast Asia for a little while. We just want to check it out, want to live there, want to live a little bit of a different life for a while, be in nature, be in a slightly different kind of cultural configuration as well, just a bit of exposure to that. But then I think it's a very strong likelihood that we'll come back, probably purchase a property, maybe a house somewhere out, in the country where we've got a bit more space, a little bit less of a kind of a city vibe. But probably in and around the Valencian region. I mean, there is something special about the place, for sure.
Yeah, so using Valencia as your European base, let's say.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great place for a base. I think the whole of Spain is probably like that as well. I have been checking out Portugal. I know that you also have your own designs on Portugal as well.
I do, yeah.
And that looks like a fantastic place to check out too. I haven't been there yet, but I know some friends who have been, and I've looked at some videos, and yeah, you're going to need to give me some tips when I do go there. But it looks beautiful.
Well, the thing for me with Portugal, and this would be probably similar to you, coming from a place like Cape Town. I mean, I come from Perth. Cape Town, I mean, one's the bottom of Africa, one's the Australian continent, but there's certain aspects there. You've got the open coastline. You don't have the tame Mediterranean, if you like. The wind blows in your face, which is something that I miss. You've got a bit of surf at the beaches as well, if you want to, which is something that's you can't always get down there in the Mediterranean. It's a more open coastline it's packed with a fantastic cultural aspect as well. So that's one of the reasons I like Portugal, and and you're able to get into a different world as well. That aspect that you have here in Europe, where you just cross the border and you're in a different country. Portugal's similar but different at the same time.
Yes. Is there any place specifically where do you have any property? Do you have a flat there, or do you have a house that you go to? Or
I have a small flat that we got a few years ago. It's it's about an hour north of Lisbon.
Okay, cool.
So it's 2 hours south of Porto, 1 hour north of Lisbon. So yeah, it's in a fairly good location. It's getting a little bit touristy nowadays. The surf culture brings a lot of people there, and that's something that can get a bit frustrating. But when I'm a tourist, when I go there, but you always want to try to have that exclusive place if you can, which is getting harder and harder.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, yeah, awesome. Yeah, you've made me want to go there even more now. Yeah.
Just go and check it out. That's it. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
But I always recommend Portugal. It's a different vibe to Spain, and it's a fairly laid back vibe as well.
Do you normally just drive from Madrid, or do you?
Yeah, we drive across. Yeah, it's about a 6 hour drive, just straight across the country there.
Okay.
Cross the border in 3.5 hours, and then another 2.5, more or less. A few stops on the way, and then you bang on the coast, and the temperatures. It's a lot cooler there than it is here in the summer months. You don't get the same. I mean, I suppose Valencia gets quite humid in the summer.
Yeah, it's hot.
Yeah, with the place that we go to is quite cool in the summer. So that's an added bonus.
And you've got that beautiful Atlantic kind of blowing over as well, washing over on the west.
You've got that. So here in Madrid, it's difficult to explain, but when you come from Perth's got like a storm culture, and that's what I love about in winter you get these storms that blow through. They're pretty tough. The wind really picks up, and then the next few days after the storm, the calm after the storm, as they say, you get these fantastic days, and that's similar to what you get there in Portugal as well. The storms roll through. You've got the Atlantic Ocean, which is in itself fantastic, and
it's a beautiful beast. I love the Atlantic.
That's it. Yeah. And then when you combine that with the Portuguese culture side, the great food, the wines, all of those things, it just makes a fantastic experience.
Just lastly, what is it like there, out of interest, for vegetarians? Because I'm a vegetarian and we're all vegetarians. So
yeah. Well,
is there any support there?
Yeah. Well, the Portuguese diet, along with the Spanish diet, very meat orientated.
Yeah,
it's very they're meat heavy. A lot of fish, but I don't. Are you a pescatarian or not? No.
I'll still dabble. I'll dabble with a bit of fish.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Portugal's got a lot of fish in the diet, the same as the Spanish diet as well. But there is a lot of meat in the diet as well.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not a vegetarian, Alex. So I don't go looking for that. In the same way that I don't have a problem with gluten, so I don't go looking, for those specific things. But from what I can gather, your restaurants are always going to be they have fantastic produce if you want to make your own stuff.
Yes.
I mean the vegetables and the fruit, everything in Portugal, absolutely brilliant, on par with Valencia, of course. But when you go to a restaurant, it's always the meat, fish. There's not really vegetarian.
Right.
There's not a vegetarian section in a lot of restaurants.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah.
But that's probably similar. It's probably similar there. I mean, you get little vegetarian restaurants opening up around the place.
Definitely.
But if you go to the traditional Spanish restaurant, they're not catering for vegetarians.
Yeah. No, they're not. Yeah. In fact, often they'll bring you something tuna based. And they'll be like, well, that's that's vegetables. I'm not joking. That's been done before.
That's it. Well, and maybe you can get a vegetarian paella, a vegetarian rice dish or something like that. But then again, the stock might have been
chicken stock or something. Yeah.
That's
We've actually got a place that we go to around the corner, Comidas para Llevar, and it's great for $2.50. You've got a ración of paella verduras, just vegetarian paella, and it feeds. It's almost like 3 servings worth of paella, and every Wednesday we go there. We buy 2 or 3. We freeze some of it, and it's cheap. It's delicious. It's probably better than a lot of the restaurants. I mean, this is Valencia, the home of paella. It's actually better than most of the restaurants we've been to for paella. Sometimes you can find those little places that will work well, particularly for a vegetarian. Just got to find it.
Well, that's it, and that's a characteristic of cities like Valencia, because there's so many different shops and things. In Australia, you have to go to a shopping centre, a mall, or something, or to a little group of shops. Whereas cities like Valencia, Madrid, you just walk outside. There's always something new opening up, a new coffee shop or a new takeaway food place, which is the comida casera, as they call it. And these things are popping up all over the place, and that's what adds to that Valencian city vibe, I suppose, right?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and I even love the sometimes you can kind of feel the configuration of a street that you walk down, and I know that this is all over Spain, but you've got the little peluqueria over here, you've got the kind of the old legal office, you've got like a podiatrist over there, and everyone's living and working, and they're doing it from the street, and just like you said, in Cape Town, in South Africa, you've also got those massive malls and those big sort of shopping centers where you've got to go there and you've got to go inside, you've got to park your car and all of that. But right here, it's just the guy right next door. It's in the street, and right next to the legal office, you've got a coffee place, then you've got a hair salon, then you've got a Chinese restaurant. So I love that too. Yeah, it's very local, very sort of neighborhood feeling. It's great.
It is. Yeah. All right, Alex, we'll start to wrap it up. We'll be in contact, of course. If I make it to Valencia one day, I'll be sure to knock on your door.
Please.
And we'll have one of those coffees that you're talking about just now.
and we'll go for a drive to the mountains too, because I've seen you do some of those sort of road trip videos, so there's a lot to explore.
Well, that's all I can do at the moment, basically. It's the only place you can go outside without having to wear a mask. So in the privacy of your own car, you can speak to the camera without a mask.
Yeah. Well, little pleasures. Yeah. Thanks, Stu.
All right, good ones. Have a good one. See you later. So there you go. That was the interview with Alex down there in Valencia, telling us a little bit about his life in that city here in Spain. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the situation out as you normally do. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.